Hello, everyone. I am going to go over our European theater notes for World War II. These notes are going to cover from the time Germany started the war in 1939 till the end of the war, Victory in Europe Day. So it's basically a timeline of events. So Germany, an important event there is that they had signed the Non-Aggression Pact with the Soviet Union, and both countries agreed in that pact to invade and divide Poland. The problem was uh, Poland didn't really want to be divided, so September 1st, 1939, Germany invades Poland, and that is the beginning of World War II. So we are going to show a video called Germany Invades Poland. So we'll show that later after we go through the notes. So on May 13th, 1940, Germany invades France, and they capture Paris. So some of you may have heard of the port of Dunkirk there in France, where a lot of the French soldiers escaped to try to get away from the German army and were successful in getting rescue boats across the English Channel over to Great Britain, where they could join with the British Army and continue fighting. June through October 1940, the German Luftwaffe, or Luftwaffe, I've heard it pronounced several ways, bombed London and the surrounding areas there in Great Britain. This is called the Battle of Britain, but the British are successful in keeping the German airplanes or the bomber planes from taking over with their own Air Force. The Royal Air Force is successful in holding off the Germans. And a lot of that has to do with radar, in that they were using radar to detect the planes as they were coming into Great Britain. They were able to get them down before they could do any harm, but they did do quite a bit of harm. The British just never gave up. So we have a video here we'll play about the Battle of Britain. On June 22nd, 1941, Germany invades the Soviet Union. So here we had this non-aggression pact where we're supposed to have Germany getting along with the Soviet Union, but the Soviet Union had a lot of resources the Germans wanted, and they realized they needed that in order to win the war. So they think the Soviet Union's weak, and they're actually not. They're able to hold them off, and the Soviets are going to get help from the U.S. doing that. So, and going to the last thing we have here in the notes for Germany, they are going to declare war on the U.S. December 11th, 1941, because of Pearl Harbor. When Japan bombs Pearl Harbor, the U.S. declares war on Japan, and because the Germans are allied with Japan, then they're going to declare war on the U.S., that ally system. All right, I'm moving down to the Soviet Union section of the notes now. On September 17th, 1939, this is when the Soviet Union invades Poland and the Baltic nations. So we have our map we've worked on where you can see Poland is right between Germany and the Soviet Union, and that they were just going to divide it up. And so they started to do that. But then we have on June 1941, so almost 2 years later, the Soviet Union is invaded by Germany. So the Soviet Union decides to switch sides and join the Allied powers because they need the help of the Lend-Lease Act, or Lend-Lease aid that's going to come from that to help them defeat Germany. In February 1943, so it's going to be almost 2 years it's going to take for the Soviet Union to turn back the Germans at the Battle of Stalingrad. So we have a video we'll watch here about the Battle of Stalingrad, named after obviously Joseph Stalin, leader of Germany. And that is a turning point in Eastern Europe. That battle is going to make a lot of people were lost in that. You'll learn that in the video. But the Germans lose. They are unable to take over, and the battle is a turning point. A turning point. Think about it. What makes sense there is the war is going to turn in the favor of the side that's been losing. So in this case, the Allies, the Soviets on the Allied side. So the United States, what are they doing over in Europe? Okay, so on December 7th, 1941, remember that's our day that will live in infamy. The U.S. is attacked by Japan at the U.S. Naval Base in Pearl Harbor. So we will learn more about that when we do the Pacific Theater event, but we know that's the event that brings the U.S. into the war. That's the green light go event we've learned about. So on December 8th, the next day, the U.S. declares war on Japan, and this is going to get Germany to declare war on the U.S. So a lot of stuff's going to happen. We have so much that we could learn about World War II, but we really just have to focus here and think, all right, got a lot of fighting that's going to happen in the next 3 years between the U.S. and Germany, the U.S. and Japan, helping the Allies. It's going to be a lot of fighting. So, but the idea is it's going to take something major to have a turning point for the Allies in Western Europe. Okay, because France has been overrun. A lot of those countries just didn't know what to do to keep the Germans at bay. They had already taken over. There was really nothing they could do. So the U.S. is going to work with our U.S. generals, especially Dwight D. Eisenhower, going to work with some of the Allied generals to plan this top secret invasion called D-Day, and that they're going to invade Normandy Beach in France, and that's going to help start the liberation of Western Europe. And that's going to be a turning point in Western Europe. So we learn about D-Day today as a turning point, a positive event for the Allies. However, we have to think in our own local history. D-Day has its own kind of bittersweet victory to it because we had some people from our area, the Bedford boys, who went and didn't make it back. But so our town close by took a sacrifice, had to make a sacrifice for that event. But for the Allies, it is considered a successful event because we were able to turn back the events in Western Europe. So we're going to watch a video about that too. So the last part here at the bottom, we have VE Day or Victory in Europe Day, and that is when Germany surrenders. We're going to have Hitler do away with himself, and World War II is officially ended in Europe. So watch that video, and your job today is going to be to go to your next slide and complete a map activity with some questions. So we'll get to our video clips, and please feel free to ask questions, and if you're confused about anything, especially after you watch the video clips, see what happens. Have a good day.